Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to share a few different stenciling techniques than the normal. Nothing earth-shattering, but something a little different. This is one I haven't done in a while. It's using shaving cream and some inks. Now you've probably seen the shaving cream and inks marbling technique, but this is a little bit different. As you see there, I dropped some shaving cream on a plate. I'm dropping some ink colors here and there. Then I'm going to swirl them around a little bit, which is how you do the marbling technique without the stencils. If you wanted to do that, you would just dip, once I swirl around the inks, you would dip or kind of dip your paper on the top of that. But I'm going to do something different. As I said before, I picked three colors that I thought looked good together. They're actually three colors I like to use a lot together. So there we go. I'm mixing it, kind of making a little bit of a marbling effect. You don't want to mix it too much because then you'll kind of make mud. So I have the stencil, I have my paper, and then you just scrape your stencil, scrape the shaving cream through the stencil with a credit card or something similar. So I'm using a cleaner one just to take a little bit more off. You take it off and it makes a beautiful pattern. Now I like to leave that to dry, so I'm going to put it to the side and I'm going to try some more on a piece of copy paper that I tea dyed because I thought that would be a pretty effect. If you leave the shaving cream to dry completely, it does make a crisper, cleaner pattern. So I'm going to do this again, same colors with a different stencil and the tea dyed paper. So no, I'm using different colors. Whoopsies. I still have the old colors out there. So I have a kind of a darker green, darker blue, and a yellow. I recorded this quite a while ago actually, so I have to refresh my memory a bit. So I'm using 4 colors this time. Okay, so swirling it around a little bit, not too much. That makes a pretty pattern, doesn't it? Okay, so I've got my clean credit card and I just take a little bit off the top and scrape it through on top of the stencil. Just kind of do it a little bit carefully there. And then I'm going to, I think I just had a few spots that I missed, and then taking a clean card and taking off the rest of the shaving cream on the top. Now that makes a really pretty pattern. This one I'm not going to let it dry right away. Or am I? No, because see, that one is dry, pretty much dry, and there's not as much of the whipped cream on it. But this one, in my impatience, I didn't let it dry quite enough, so it kind of smears it a little bit, or but I like the effect. As you can see there, it's not crisp and clean, but it's a pretty effect, I think. So here are some other papers. I did it a few more times, as you can see there, with different colors, different stencils. It's the same process over and over again. It's a little bit messy. Oh, I did that on black paper. Look how pretty that is. It's actually pretty shiny, but I don't think you can see it that well on the video. Okay, so here's my next technique. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but I have these watercolors. They're actually like a cross between a watercolor and a gouache by Jane Davenport that I recently bought. They have beautiful, vibrant colors, so I thought I would use those. So I laid down my stencil and then I put on a good amount of water, but it's not totally swamped in water. And then I'm going to spread some colors. I'm not giving much thought to how I'm doing this. Just going, here and there, spreading them out. This would be a background to a mixed media page or collage that I would make, so I'm not worried about following any sort of pattern. And I'm using pretty much the same colors again, yellow and a blue or turquoise and a reddish color. And again, just spreading it around. I want to have a good amount of water, but I don't want to drown it in water, if that makes sense. So spritz it with a little more water, and then I'm going to set that aside. Oh, no, I'm adding more. I'm adding more color. There's a purple. So I did, like I said, a good amount of water there. It's, again, not going to be a crisp and clean pattern, but you'll see when it's dry. I'll show you. I'm going to do the same thing, this time with some inks, some spray inks. Hopefully they all spray. I can't remember. My inks are always getting clogged up. So with this technique, you want to use a stencil that has a lot of openings so you can get the color in there. I think I had to go get another color, probably because one of mine was clogged up, that I wanted to use, most likely. And that one I set aside to dry. Okay, the next technique is really, really simple. It works really nicely on black or a solid color like that. I took some magazine pages, and then I'm just using a piece of sandpaper on top of the stencil. I mean, on top of the paper with the stencil underneath the paper, so the pattern shows up. And here's an ad that has a lot of white, so let's see how that works out. It's a little bit harder to see, but it does make a nice pattern nonetheless. You can see that there. And what I'll do is I will cut or tear those pages, and again use them in collage. Here I'm using an Inktense pencil or block to do the same sort of thing, not without the sandpaper. You've probably done that. I mean, I think we've all done that as a kid. But it also makes a nice effect with color. So again, nice little pieces that you can cut or tear to use in collage. So that's that simple technique. Let's see if I do something else. I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to do more with the black. And that stencil. That makes a really nice pattern. Okay, next technique is just tracing a stencil with your pencil. It's nothing, again, earth-shattering. But if you can't draw like me, this is one way that you can make a nice design on your paper, and then you can later color it in with markers, with watercolors, things like that. And I'm using a pencil, but of course you can use a marker, or really anything that you want to use to outline these shapes. So I thought I'd make the bird with the bird on a branch. Again, pretty simple, straightforward. I'm doing this on copy paper, but if you wanted to watercolor, that would be nice on a piece of watercolor paper, and then you could use watercolor on top of it. If you used a pen, I particularly like a sketchy look with a pen, which I'm going to show you that actually later on. Here it is, actually, this technique. It's a similar idea, but just slightly different, because first I'm putting the watercolor on the paper. I did that off camera, and then I'm going to trace around the stencil with a pen, and you'll see I'm doing it kind of carefully, but also not trying to be too perfect, because now I'm going to go over it with my pen again and do some sketchy lines, because that's what I prefer. And that's what I was saying with the previous technique. You could do the same sort of thing. You can sketch it, do sketchy lines with the pen, and then watercolor it afterwards. All right, here's another technique with alcohol inks and a piece of plastic. You can use any kind of plastic you want. I'm using a piece of Duralar, it's called, just because I don't have a lot of sheets of plastic, but you could use, like I said, anything from packaging, things like that. So I'm just dropping some colors onto the stencil, and as you can see, I don't clean my stencils really, so I might have some leftover colors here and there, and I don't mind that because I don't do anything super neat or crisp and clean usually. So if I get an extra color in there, I usually kind of like it. So right now it looks like a mess, I know, but wait till you see how it turns out. It's beautiful. Again, you want something kind of with larger openings. There's the next technique. I'm doing the same thing with photo paper that I have. It's glossy photo paper, but you could use matte photo paper. I'm not sure how it would, if it would spread out quite as much, but in this case I have this beautiful dragonfly stencil that's pretty clean, which means I must not have used it in the past. Again, the same thing, dropping the inks there. That's a pretty gold, a metallic ink, so give it a little bit of shine, a little bit of bling, and then you just leave it to dry. In this case, I'm going to smudge it a little bit with some felt. With alcohol inks, that's the best to use. If you want it to move around some more, you could add alcohol to the image there. Okay, now you can see how that one turned out. That's with the spray inks. Beautiful background. Here's the dragonfly. Look how pretty that is. It's really beautiful, and it has a little bit of a shine to it as well. And then here's the flower on the piece of plastic. Look how beautiful that is. I think that's beautiful, and I like that it spread all underneath too. I like that effect a lot. If you wanted it to cover your cover everything, you can see some white spots on the petals, you could have used the felt to spread it around a little bit, which I did not do. I kind of like that effect. Now I decided to get some alcohol on my paper towel and clean up the stencil just to see what kind of pattern I would get on some, I think that's, I can't remember if that's glossy photo paper. I think it is. Yeah. And I still had some alcohol inks left on there on the other side, so I decided to go ahead and do it again. Clean off my stencil while I'm at it, and that also makes a nice design on your paper. I decided to cover everything with that yellow. I don't know why. And see, I got some extra green up there around, which I don't mind. Here's a journal page I made a while ago using that technique with the stencil and the alcohol inks on a piece of plastic, and how I used it in a journal. Now I had that pretty background, so I decided, okay, let me show you an example of how to use one of these items, and I decided to make a page that I can put in a journal with my leaves and a focal image from actually from a catalog. So there's my finished page. I jumped quite a bit ahead, as you can see. I added the dictionary paper at the bottom and some cheesecloth to have something to anchor down the focal image with, and added some words. A simple page, but I really like the way that turned out. And I'm just going through my papers one more time as a little recap. You can see there, you could see the little glimmer in the dragonfly. That's beautiful. It's quite a large image, so I have to use it in a larger journal. And then the flowers with the alcohol ink on the plastic. Just wanted to show you that on a piece of white paper. It's really pretty too. It's quite large as well. If you do this technique, maybe it would be better to use a smaller image. And then some of my traced images there, and I had some others, but I didn't have them out to show you in the little recap. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. There's one there. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. See you next time.